All right, artists, let's do this. We're going to start with mechanical lines. We know we need tools like rulers or stencils. There's a fancy stencil. Anything that you have an edge. Even if you don't have anything, you can use a candle, anything you can trace. I'm going to use my ruler first. I like to spread out my fingers to hold that ruler in place. And then I just press that pencil against the ruler. It creates a really super precise line. And that's why we call that a mechanical line. So once again, you can use anything to trace. If you don't have these fancy stencils at home, totally fine. You can trace anything just by pressing your pencil and making your mark against that object. If you do have stencils at home, sweet. But if you do not, you can literally use anything that's pretty hard. I'm going to use a candle here. Just press that pencil right up against it and trace. Those are mechanical lines. Now next, let's try freehand lines. Freehand lines, you do not use any tools at all. That's it. You are only using your hand. Now you can see here, I'm scribbling. Scribble, scrabble, scribble, scrabble. No, do not do that. Freehand lines, you need to control your hand-eye coordination. When you slow down a little bit, you're more confident in where you're moving that mark. They can be jagged, the lines can be curvy. Just remember to slow down a little bit so you have lots of control. No scribbling, take it slow, and control the movement of that line. That is a freehand line. Time to move to our actual studio practice. We're going to create a grid with 8 boxes. You can use a ruler if you have it, or you can use the straight edge of a book or something just to help you make those straight edges. And once again, you're going to divide your paper into 8 sections. Let's do it together. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler. I'm going to measure about 2¼ inches. That's about the center of the paper. Of course, you can just eyeball where the center is and then make that vertical mechanical line here because I'm using a tool to help me make it nice and straight. So use your ruler if you have one, or just the straight edge of something you have laying around. Okay, next I'm going to make 3 horizontal lines. What I can do is count down 5 spirals, and then right underneath that 5th spiral, I'm going to draw that first horizontal line. So if you don't have a ruler, you can just count the spirals. 5 spirals. This is what it looks like if you don't have a ruler. Just use the straight edge of a book or magazine you have laying around. Draw that horizontal line. It may not be perfectly the same amount, but that's okay. Count down 5 spirals, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Use that straight edge of whatever you have and draw that line. All right. Time for our first exercise. We're going to start with 4 symmetrical mechanical lines. So I have my tools or whatever I'm using to trace, and I'm going to create 4 different line designs. Now in these line designs, you are only allowed to use 5 lines, and that is it. So I'm going to start with my first line, my line of symmetry, because, well, you know, it just really helps me know that I can make my designs equal on both sides. You can see here also with my lines, I start and end each line at the sides of the box. I can't have a little line floating out in the middle of nowhere. No, that's not what this exercise is all about. So you can see that my lines touch the edges of the box. All right, I'm using my tools to help me make a mechanical line. I also want to make sure that I'm touching the lines to the edges of the box. I only have 4 lines right now, though. I need my 5th. I have my symmetrical design. My lines are equal. So let's be really smart about that 5th line. Starting at the end of the box, ending at the end of the box. That's how you do it. Alrighty, I have my 4 mechanical symmetrical designs, I'm going to still continue using my tools, whatever I have on hand, to now create 4 asymmetrical designs. So I'm going to first start with that big 8th grader line, right? That really big line covering a lot of area. Once again, by tracing that line. So there's 1, 2 lines. I've got my big area. Now I have to think about piling up all those little kindergartners on the other side of the seesaw. So I'm going to create some lines in some smaller areas to balance out that big area that I created. So that's my 3rd line. I'm still making sure that my line begins and ends on the edge of the box. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 1 more line to do. I need to be smart about where to balance this out. I'll create a little line up in the corner. So it's kind of like that seesaw. We've got all of our little kindergartner lines balancing out that big line over on the side. Hey, notice I also traced my grid with Sharpie just to make it a little bit different. You can do this too if you want. Boom shakalaka! I have my 4 mechanical asymmetrical designs. I have 4 mechanical asymmetrical designs. I am ready to rock and roll. Get rid of those tools. We do not need them for this next part. On that second page, that second grid, we're working with freehand lines. Let's start at the top with 4 symmetrical freehand designs. And remember, you can only use 5 lines, no more, no less. Let me take my time. I'm almost thinking of this as like the vase face activity that we were doing. See how I just kind of trace with my empty finger and draw at the same time. Freehand drawing is all about hand-eye coordination, so make sure you slow down. There's 2 lines. Remember, I have to start that freehand line at one side of the box, end it at another side of the box so that line closes up. Y'all, that is so important. Do not forget that. Okay, I have 4 lines, 1 more to go. Let's be smart about this. I want to show symmetry, so why not work around that invisible line of symmetry? Boom. Y'all, I just rocked out 4 symmetrical designs using freehand lines. Notice how I use 5 lines, and it's totally cool if your 5 lines overlap. As long as they're touching the edges of the boxes, they're showing symmetry and asymmetry, you are good to go. All right, get rid of that tool. You don't need it. We're freehanding our line. Let's start with that big old 8th grader line on the edge of the seesaw. We need to balance that guy out with some little baby kindergartner lines. I'm starting at the edge of the box. I'm making sure that I finish at the edge of the box. Make sure that I have those lines that I need. Don't forget that 5th line. Cool. All right. I like the balance. We've got the big 8th grader line balanced out with the smaller little kindergartner lines. Asymmetry, baby. All right, let's try it again. Maybe a jagged line this time. I'm taking my time. I'm in control with that line. I'm starting that line at the edge of the box, ending it at the end of the box. There's my 2nd line. There's my 3rd line. And right now I'm just drawing those little baby kindergartner lines to balance out that big old 8th grader line I first drew. All right, let's be smart about this. It can overlap if we want to. We're good. Folks, that's how it's done. Our first page, you can see we're using mechanical lines to create both symmetry and asymmetry. Next, you're using freehand lines, no tools, get rid of them, to create 5-line designs with symmetry and asymmetry. Now, I want you guys to get creative and, of course, make your own. Have a good one.